This is a Corkboard podcast.
Welcome to Classics Catch Up, the show where a former fundamentalist and film school failure finally finds the time to watch himself some unforgettable films. I'm your host, Jay Muskrat, joined today, as always, by another host.
A host of friends.
So you guys are getting so good at that. Today, we're giving you a brief update on the day of the Triffids. Because guess what, guys? I read the book. I read the actual book.
You did?
I did.
Why?
I full did. Okay, so hear me out. It's a goddamn masterpiece. Okay, so First off, the book far outweighs the movie, like just so much. I mean, not that that's not often the case, but like this is such an early example of Hollywood just shitting all over a masterpiece. Like it is
Really?
not. Yeah, it is. It is not at all about the Triffids. Really, it is a like deep exploration of human suffering and perseverance and how society functions with the loss of most of its function.
Yeah.
It is far closer to like World War Z, which again gets back to my whole this movie is World War Z thing. Like, but the book is even more World War Z is the wild
Really?
thing. Yeah, it
Okay.
really is.
So it's just sitting there at the beginning of that genre, just
Yeah.
serves
Yes,
as a
yes.
good example.
It's establishing essentially every large stroke, every upper scale stroke of every single zombie property is established in this book. Like it
Nice.
is. It's like beat for beat, essentially, if you switch the Triffids out with zombies. Like that's the big thing. Also, which brings me to my first note. The Triffids are so common and so well known as being dangerous that there are specific Triffid weapons and specific masks. So much so that the reason he is in the hospital is because his Triffid mask failed out and he got sprayed in the face at his job where he is a botanist for Triffids.
So
Okay.
wait, so Triffids are like, because in the
They've
movie
been
they're
there.
kind of a thing. They're like,
No, they're like a
yeah.
whole ass thing. He goes out of his way to be like, yeah, well, like by this point, you'd be hard pressed to find a garden in the Greater London area that doesn't have a Triffid defanged for its pleasures. Not defanged. They call, I can't remember what he calls it,
Like
detipped or something like.
something.
Yeah, but basically, yeah.
Okay.
Essentially, it's like, hey, what if it was a fad to keep rattlesnakes, but you always have to take the teeth
Didn't
out?
get
But
any of that from the movie.
they grow back, so you have to keep defanging the rattlesnakes, or else they
and then
take
you
over.
go, and then you go blind, and you can't deflate.
Exactly.
Oh,
Okay.
So I did take notes. I'll pull them up.
Nice.
Curious. Anybody have any other thoughts? And also, hi Liz. I don't think you've said anything yet because we're just,
I said something.
I just meant that on us. I'm sort of locomotive.
Oh no,
flowing
I'm happy
through.
to just be here for Josiah's book report.
Oh yeah. This is called the book dump. It's a little
Inspired
side
by.
feature of the Beck dump. Okay. All right. Now taking questions before we get into my notes.
does the doctor jump out of the window?
Yes, the doctor jumps out the window in exactly the same way as the movie. Several people kill themselves really early on in the book. It's not a gentle book to get through. It's truly not. For the 50s, there's like a ton of parts that blow me away simply by the fact that they were published and popular in the 50s. There's like a 5-minute long rant about hot take, but like women's culpability in the patriarchy. And it's like really insightful and kind of scathing. And yes, it is written by a man, but I do think it's like very interesting to I think it is very telling of the kind of people that I grew up around, specifically in my fundamentalist upbringing, where these are the women that are benefiting from the establishment. And he has a whole moment where he has a character call them out for it in the 50s, where it's like,
Nice.
hey,
Okay.
we're trying to make a better world, and you women not exclusively, but are part of the problem because you are doing these things that serve and benefit the patriarchy. And these are the same things that I remember my sisters railing against, and myself and others, my exes and all sorts, basically anyone who was quote unquote progressive or black sheep or anything in the homeschool industry. It's just, I don't know. It's very interesting. We'll get to it here in a minute though.
Okay.
Go ahead. Kaylin, you had a question?
Does the dog die?
What dog?
There's no dog.
Oh, man. There's so much else going on. There's so many other characters. They don't even have like the best character in the book by far is not in the movie at all. It's Coca, the guy who captures them and chains them to fucking blind people. Like best character in the movie,
Really?
best character in the book by far. Yeah, this dude, like, so getting ahead of myself a little bit, but yeah, shortly after he meets Gisela, which, first note, the entire thing's a love story. It is a very explicit love story. Like, he falls in love with this woman, Gisela, very early on. He does save her, and her first introduction is admittedly a little problematic. Her first line is like, "Oh, I must be a mess," or something like that. And then she like immediately walks over to a mirror to check on how she looks. But then she does have a very interesting set of lines about being more competent than she is presenting today, and that how the events that have occurred have shaken her up and allowed her to get basically like someone got the drop on her, and how embarrassed she is by that because she is more capable than that. And then she continues to prove that throughout the continuation of the book in a way that a lot of even modern heroines don't. They just kind of luck their way through in a narrative in a way that is quote unquote narratively satisfying or narratively necessary, but doesn't actually give you anything as far as character development. Whereas Gisela goes through like a ton and is still the woman he's with at the end of the book. Spoiler alert, or at least, you know, right? Like, which was one of my complaints about the movie, was this revolving door of female characters. That's not the case in the book at all. He like very, very early on, the first woman he saves in the first city, like a few blocks from the hospital, is Gisela. And then they are separated, and then he fights his way back to her through all of these different trials and tribulations and different groups that he has to get to. So the reason that they are split up, because they very quickly join a group of survivors that are set up like I don't remember what they called it in London, but basically like a skyscraper, one of those short skyscrapers that's all apartment blocks. And they've barricaded that and whatnot. So they join in this group, and then the group's like, hey, so if we're going to do this, we are going to leave the city because London's a mess. Also, there's a giant plague. Big part of the book is the fact that there's a plague.
What? Oh, really?
Yeah. It's explicitly
It's
explicitly like genetically engineered. It's pretty explicitly Russia. It's like, it's very like the point of the book is, if we keep fucking around with satellite weapons, we're gonna kill ourselves. And they talk about it several times as being like, well, it doesn't matter who put it up there. It might have been Russia. It might have been us. What we thought were meteorites, whereas a chemical weapon being released into our atmosphere, which is what caused us to lose our fucking sight.
Whoa.
And then that has allowed the Triffids to go. Like, it's so buttoned up. It's all fucking there. And then, and that's part of a greater conversation that's very 50s coded and very, unfortunately, 80s coded and now coded of we can't continue to play with these elements that are going to destroy all of nature and humanity and not expect us to destroy all of nature and humanity. And to the extent that he's like, the Triffids are not the issue. They are the opportunity for us to realize that we only have this position at the top of the food chain by the fact that we scraped our way here, and we are holding on by the skin of our teeth. And all it would take is all it did take was, theoretically, as it is sort of hinted at in the book, one satellite blowing up in the upper atmosphere and scattering this chemical weapon, which is what all the big bright green comets were.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it was a fucking and then there's even
That's
like a whole
not fucking addressed. In the
not at
movie.
all.
Yeah.
So it's a chemical weapon the whole time. Okay.
It's not verified, but at the right near the end, there's definitely a point where he's like, yeah, I think this is what I'm thinking happened. This is what I know. And here's sort of how I summarize it as far as like, we're going to get set up to go do life again after this, and we need to learn from this and kind of move forward. And yeah, essentially he's pretty sure that it is some sort of a chemical weapon that was put into a satellite weapon designed to launch at a specific area, but then accidentally like just blew up in atmosphere or any number of things, which is sort of the point, and scattered all over the Western Hemisphere. And so it caused this blindness epidemic that would have been a targeted biological weapon, but in this case instead was just a massive wide epidemic. And then he doubles down on that and says, well, that also would explain why this plague came out of nowhere that no one can treat and is not X, Y, and Z, all of these things we think we would have thought would have broken out in the wake of this, in the wake of a bunch of dead bodies and a lack of sanitation, all this stuff. That's not what we're fighting. It's this other plague thing that none of us can identify. So theoretically, it probably also came from this satellite crash, and this is all entirely our fault. And the Triffids are just kind of the background of that. Like, it's basically they might as well have just been like, yeah, the satellite dropped a plague, the blindness thing, and the zombie virus. And then it's the same. Like, you could just switch them out, do a search and replace, and you're good to go. All right, I'm going to run through some notes. So the Triffids are so common that they are grown in gardens.
Crazy. That's wild.
Yeah.
What a thing to not put in the movie.
He
That's
is-
so cool.
I guess we at the very beginning it zooms in on a Triffid and it's like these are what Triffids are and where they came from.
Yeah, but they're more of something you see in a museum. Like
They're
like,
also like inert, basically, at
Right.
the beginning of the movie.
But like, I think it's like, I know that people have cool plants that are at nurseries or at like vivariums, but they're only there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't
One of
think
those
one
weird ones that only blooms once and smells like death.
Exactly. Yeah, I know people have those, but I've never seen one. That's kind of what I think that it was with the Triffids. Like people knew about it, but they didn't like have experience with it, and then all of a sudden it's everywhere.
Also, I was just listening to the audio clip at the beginning of the episode. Like, it is explicitly stated in the movie, like, be aware, Britain has been infested by these creatures. And like, that's just not the case in this, which brings up another thing. Like, they do decide to start using fire at approximately the same point in the book as they do
really?
in the movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The difference therein being that after that point, there's 4 goddamn years.
Didn't they also figure out the sound thing around the same time?
No, 4 years until they figure out the sound thing. At
Whoa, really?
which point, little lady whose name is, let me double check.
Little
Susan.
lady.
Susan, the 8-year-old that they like
Oh,
find.
yeah. Oh, she
is-
exists?
She
I didn't know
does
she
exist.
existed in the book.
She's a huge part of the book. She's a total badass. She's the one that
No
figures
shit.
out about the sound stuff. And at like 8, she's like, yeah, my parents were killed by Triffids, I think. Citation needed. And so, yeah, please show me how to kill these things. And he's like, yeah, here's these Triffid guns that we got from the hardware store because Triffid guns are sold in hardware stores.
Because they're so common.
Yeah. And he teaches this kid how to do it, and she just takes to it like fucking white on rice. Or is that racist? Probably. I don't know. It's white rice. It's not about race. It's just white.
I am
Whatever.
white.
It's
My
a
last
color.
name is Rice. I approve this.
But I think that might also
Okay,
just be in like
whatever.
what connotation you're using it. You're
Yeah,
probably not
fair.
Like if you used it in a racist.
Point being, she's really good at it, and she kills or she de-stingers like all the fucking Triffids through the whole thing. And then the part where in the movie where they end up at the place where there's all the blind people and then the nice couple's like, oh, help us take care of them. Like, that's like the entire like last most of the book, and it's
Except
that
the final
Gisela.
scene.
Yeah, not just the final. Like, it's a huge portion of the book. Gisela, the romantic love interest who's a badass, she has friends in the country who have a country house, and she tells him very early on in the book, like, hey, if we get separated, this is where I'm going to go. And then they get separated, and he spends a bunch of times looking for her, not there. And then he's like, oh, right, yeah, she probably is there. And then she goes there, and guess what? She's there. And she and her friends who own the place have turned blind, but she has not. And so then they just set up there, and all the stuff that occurs as far as the like gate with the Triffids around it and all the like good literally like all the good Triffid killing is in the last third of the book because it's explicitly like, no, it takes years for them to build up a population that's heavy enough for it to be like a huge thing. Like
I mean,
early
that super
early
makes sense.
on, what?
I said that super makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And then they also talk about how like they're taking specific methods to not even eliminate them, but just curb the propagation and stuff like that. Like it's a lot more scientific.
Just all over.
Yeah.
It just sounds like it's a smarter
Yeah.
piece of media.
Much
Yeah.
more.
All around.
Much more.
Crazy that a
So
book is smarter than a movie, even in the 50s.
Well, I mean, you think how many of those books are where we get every other sci-fi thing now?
Mhm.
They're
this is
even if they're
where
not directly an adaptation, they're clearly based on something
yes,
older.
yeah.
Yeah, like Who Goes There is The Thing, and
Mm.
I had another example in my head, and it's gone now.
Black Christmas is Halloween, and
Dune
that's
is Dune.
Dune is Dune.
Dune is
And
Dune.
Dune.
You know
Dune
what?
is Dune. There we
And
go.
Doom is Doom. So, but yeah, I have a very, very, very important point here. Well, we talked about how the Triffids are common, but what I do want to point out is they are common enough that they are being industrially farmed for both their pulp, which is a cattle feed, which comes up later, and their oil, which is a substitute for goddamn petroleum.
Oh,
Like
course.
extensive enough that they're like, people are like, hey, like because he is specifically a Triffid botanist, which is a point of view that we could have used on the movie.
Yeah, no shit. That would have been cool.
Yeah, he's like several times kind of alludes to the fact that like it makes sense that they would add a gene that allowed them to be useful so that we would industrially farm them in anticipation of whatever X attack, which gets back to the whole like the conspiracy level and the fear, the mutually assured destruction element and everything of like a post-nuclear America, which is explicitly the backdrop that he paints it in, where he talks about that like several times about how everything changed on April 6th, 1945. No, August 6th, I think.
So does the movie not take place in Britain then?
No, it does.
Oh,
It
okay.
absolutely does, which is an interesting note. Many characters are very convinced that America is going to show up and save everyone. And for the time being, like he paints that in as a big thing. And it's interesting window to Britain at the time, having just been essentially, for all our faults, essentially just saved by America. And I mean, they were doing an incredible job holding on, but eventually, I don't know, twice, yeah. And they're incredible, but there definitely was a sensation of like, well, America's going to show up and fix this, and they explicitly state it multiple times. There are several characters, there's entire groups of people that are just waiting for America to show up and fix it. It's really interesting. So there is a line of dialogue about survivor's guilt that is nearly verbatim for what we get in the movie.
Oh, that really good scene that just
but
ends?
it doesn't happen in the same way at all. It is a line of narrative dialogue, but it is almost it was taken almost verbatim from that narration line and added into the dialogue of that scene, where he says something akin to, there is no recovering from watching your ship be shot out from underneath you and your friends killed. And then it is tied into the folds of the character, even though he is not a veteran, at least unless I missed that, but I don't think he's a veteran. There is a killer monologue about morality and preservation. There's honestly, I'm about to get into it in a big way by reading you guys a couple of actual passages. This is a masterpiece of prose. Like this guy is a wordsmith like almost none that I have read. I mean, he is knocking out insane, amazing killer lines left, right, and center. So there's a point where they're joining up with this group of survivors, and it's very early on, it's a couple of days in, and people are starting to understand that this isn't going to go away, but they are not ready to fully accept what it means to start to rebuild society together. And someone in the survivors camp finds, so he and Gisela have just had the conversation after the meeting where they're like, hey, if we're going to do this as a society, we have to we have to be realistic about our expectations here, and there's several speakers one after another that speaks to the entire group of survivors, and one of them in particular states like, hey, birthing is going to be more important than husbandhood, and we are going to, and then they're like, oh, are you advocating for free love? And he's like, yeah, we have to. This is the only way we can restore our society, the only way we can restore our people. But also, here's all these reasons why. Here's the scientific, backing. It's a very sort of detached, like scientific way of presenting this expectation. And so then Gisela and he go off and have this conversation, and everyone's kind of chilling out, and they're like, all right, we're going to think about it, whatever. And then, and she just sits down and breaks down like, hey, this is why this makes sense. And she's like, listen, I'm going to go find, without it being part of the earlier conversation, she's like, I believe if I was doing this, here's what I would do. I would say every sighted man has to take on 2 blind women for every sighted woman that he is partnered with. So if you and I are to be together, I will go find you 2 more wives, and I will choose people who are capable and competent and who we can basically be like stronger because they're part of our unit, which like as a poly person is really beautiful, especially for the fucking 50s. Like there's very little jealousy element there. She's just straight up like, all right, this makes sense. This is logical. And so I'm going to go out there and I'm going to pick you the girls that I believe will be best for us so that I'm happy and you're happy and we're a functional unit.
And we can keep producing babies.
And yeah, and also we can keep producing babies. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's that repopulation thing.
Which also, she is a pariah. She's a social pariah because she wrote a book called My Adventure is Sex. And in the 50s,
Sex is my adventure.
Sex is my adventure. Sorry, you're right. In the 50s, she is a author, screenwriter, and social pariah in her late 20s in the 50s. Like, this is a really cool female character. She's really fucking cool. And it is, listen, the overarching element of women are here to make kids is present, but it is not, they're just cows. It is very much like, hey, these are, our partners, but also they have these gender roles that we're pretty locked into because it's the 50s. But she is through the whole thing identified as people keep coming up to her and being like, oh, you're Gisela, whatever. You wrote Sex is My Adventure. And she's like, yeah. And she increasingly hates it as it gets farther along from the day of the Triffids or whatever. And people are continuing to identify her as that. She gets more and more upset by it. And then at the end of the book, someone comes up to her and it's like, oh my gosh, you're Gisela, whatever, author of Sex is My Adventure. And she says, no, I'm Gisela, and then gives his last name because they're married now, author of David, their last name, and then lists her other 2 kids. It's like, it's nice to meet you. And it is, again, these aren't maybe the most 2025 gender roles, but for fucking 1957, like, this is an insane level of reclaim that she has on her own identity. And while yes, it is
define what she wants to be known for.
And yes, she's defining it as I want to be a mom, and I get the problem with that. But it is clearly like, it is what she wants. It is on her terms. She loves her children. She talks about feeling like it's a cop-out to kind of just have kids and be a woman, but also that it's important to be part of like the reconstruction of society and doing the thing that men just cannot do, which is to birth more humans. Like, it's incredibly interesting. And anyway.
He has a pretty extensive
yeah, I was just looking that up too.
The author
history. Yeah, he started off under pseudonym, a couple of different pseudonyms. And honestly, the names of all of his shit sounds rad.
Oh, what's the guy's name?
The guy's name is John Wyndham. Or Windham. I'm not totally sure how it's pronounced.
Windham?
Like Wyndham Resorts.
Yeah, like Wyndham Resorts. But he has produced books under the name John Harris, under the name John Banyan, He's produced works as part of larger collections.
Really?
So yeah, he's got some interesting things, and his books include names like The Curse of the Burdens, The Secret People, Planet Plane, The Chrysalids,
Oh,
The Midwich Cuckoos,
ooh, that was actually sounds like a fun.
Trouble with the Lichen.
I genuinely might
Chalky.
just work through his
What was that last
catalog.
one?
Chalky.
Chalky?
Chalky.
Chalky's challenge.
Wait, he's
Oh, and personally, my favorite name, which is the name of his collection of 13 short stories and 2 novelettes, Jizzle.
Yeah.
Hell yes, Jizzle.
Jizzle includes Jizzle, Technical Slip, A Present from Brunswick, Chinese Puzzle, Esmeralda, How Do I Do, Una, Affair of the Heart, Confidence, Trick, The Wheel, Look Natural Please, exclamation point, Performance to Dream, Reservation Deferred, Heaven Sent, as in like,
Smelly
Mm.
scent.
as in
Oh.
to sniff, and More Spinned Against.
And that's just in one, in Jizzle.
Crazy how we didn't get Day of the Jizzle.
Day
I
of the
mean, there's
Jizzle.
a number of adaptations of stuff, so I haven't looked through to see if something about Jizzle is on there.
Which, by the way, Day of the Triffids was originally produced as not that. That's not what it was called. It was published as Revolt of the Triffids.
Revolt? Oh, that kind of makes more
Ooh,
sense.
okay, yeah,
I
it
had one
does.
question though about about the works.
Yeah.
Was blood from the mummy's tomb in there?
I'm not seeing it.
they're
We
not
do
gonna
have
do
the
it.
Kraken Wakes,
That's a fucking cool name.
released in America as The Things from the Deep.
Ooh, yeah, also a cool name.
So I mentioned a minute ago that he had some really good lines of dialogue, and I want everyone to go ahead and close their eyes real quick while I read you 3 different lines of dialogue. You can open between them because I know that's too much for Kalen. He's going to be overstimulated.
I mean, you have
But listen.
Futurama on a TV in the background for no reason.
That's true. Well, listen, I thought it would help. I thought it would help distract everybody. So
But why?
because
Hey guys, focus on my book report, but also here's Futurama, and it's the anime episode.
Yeah.
you guys have like you're always focused on at least 2 things. I figured I could direct the
That's
chaos.
bullshit.
if it
Don't
was-
lump me
okay.
in.
All right. Anyway,
He is
So-
way distracted by more things at once. Come on.
so I said a minute ago that they were having this discussion. They had just had the discussion where she was like, "Listen, yes, this is best for us. This is best for the future. I'm going to go find these women. I'm going to select them. We're going to be a strong, powerful unit together." It's a beautiful moment. And then someone from the collective begins to play a record, and he describes beautifully the sound echoing through the, whatever you want to call the compound, I guess. He says, "She came up to me and grabbed my hand, and we danced on the brink of an unknown future to an echo from a vanished past."
What? That's
Jesus.
That's in the book for
That's pretty
Day of the
nice.
Triffids.
all right. Well, I'm reading the fucking
All
book
right.
now.
Dude, right? Okay, I think I
Catch up
might
on this
get that
guy.
tattooed. I also put I put a side note in between that quote and the next one. But main character is under 30. So I don't know what this fucking guy that we got in the movie is, but like
Yeah.
the main character he's like 28 and he's a botanist. So like yeah.
Fantastic. He's more Mark Watney than
I have no idea who that
the
is.
Martian.
He's more Mark
Oh.
Wahlberg.
Than Mark. Yeah, he's more
Yeah.
Mark Watney than Mark Wahlberg.
I could see Mark Wahlberg delivering that line.
As he's doing a hate crime.
Man, I think you need to read more of his stuff. Judging by just the names, there is a compendium that is Logical Fantasy, the Many Worlds of John Wyndham.
Holy shit! Yes. Okay. So I know what I'm doing with my next
Okay,
year.
We're
But,
starting a
all right,
John Wyndham
Back on
podcast.
Yes.
Chalky, though, it has sequels: Chalky's Children and Chalky's Challenge.
Oh my
Okay,
God, we're
alright.
starting a John Wyndham podcast.
This very well might be a thing.
When a doomed Central City's airship crashes into a wasteland lake, the lives of 5 individuals become irreversibly tied together in a twisted mystery involving witches, robots, murder, and a burgeoning cult.
As I'm cranking Egan up, Block just has a hose. Stop trying to take your helmet off. I'm not done hosing you down. Stop. Hold yourself steady. Stop it. He's cranking. Right. Okay. Spin around. What? Give me your back. Right. Good. Okay. Hold on.
I do want to suggest that the hose that you used to spray her off is one of those like foot pump activated kind, like the hand wash stations at a music festival.
Rough. Yeah.
So you the whole time you're like cranking it with one hand and then like stomping your foot on it with the other.
I need to be a one-man band. Egan, this isn't in a city ship. Why is it out here?
I don't know. Once they crash, we should go help with their things. And maybe see if anyone's alive, but we should go help them. They might have stuff that could be more flammable, and therefore it'd be dangerous for it to stay on there.
Definitely, I wouldn't want their ship to detonate more from things inside of their ship that we could have on our non-burning ship.
Elder One, what is that?
Alabar does the thing where he puts his hand up to block the sun and goes, well, that looks to be a human ship.
At that moment, the side of
thing.
that ship explodes and a giant fireball shoots out the side of it.
It's an exploding human ship. Look, it's about to hit those guys over there. This is going to be hilarious. Sit back and watch.
Savara says, Elder One, that is not how we treat humans if we ever seek to share a peace with them. And she puts her hands up to her beak.
Young one, I teach you things and you teach me things, and I appreciate that. Please, by all means.
She is already yelling at the top of her lungs. She's actually doing like a, I want to say it's like a desert call that the tribal Calvec do. I'm not sure exactly what it would sound like because my closest thought is like, it was turtle sex noises. Yeah, that was, yep. Yeah. I was
wait, hold up. Does it sound like this?
That's exactly what it sounds like. Yes. So Block and Egan, you hear that horrible sound.
Someone's killing a goose.
He like half leaps at you, grabbing onto your wrist. His eyes flash open. They look mad and like he's in some sort of a haze. And he leaps at you, pushing you over and mounting on top of you. His other hand with the Vox.
We just met.
With the Vox still in it, he rears that hand back and begins to bring it down to smash in your skull.
Join us weekly for your next escapism fixation. A tightly edited, fast-paced adventure bursting with comedy, drama, and action. Listen now to Book 1, A New Cataclysm, wherever you catch your pods, or hear it and our other shows at patreon.com/corkboard. Book 2 coming December 15th, 2025.
All right, here's my next chunk, and this is slightly paraphrased in that I took 2 different quotes from different parts of the same page, if you will, but describing the same thing. Marvelously clear fretted in the unsmoked air, the abbey rose silver gray. It stood detached by the serenity of age from the ephemeral growths around it. In years to come, I expect some will go to look upon the abbey with romantic melancholy. But romance of that kind is an alloy of tragedy and retrospect, and I was too close.
I mean, wow.
Jesus.
In Day of the Triffids?
In Day of the Triffids. All right, one
In
more.
the vibrating plant movie?
Yeah, I mean,
I have one more.
no, hold up.
Okay,
Like,
but before I have to share another name of one of his short stories, which is simply The Puffball Menace.
Okay, well, that's the one I'm starting with. The
That's-
Puffball Minutes coming soon to a theater near you.
That's just
Yeah.
A
Kirby.
novelette.
Taylor.
I just want to like. This is that meme of like they didn't have to go this hard.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah.
I am so impressed. I think I'm just gonna have to read this.
I'm not kidding. It's so and it's like 7 hours long. So as an Audible, like it's really, really manageable. Okay, gird your loins. It's short.
I think that's the name of one of his
No.
stories.
This is, I would argue, one of the best competitors for the like one sentence short story. I guess technically it's two, but
That's what they are, is the 2-sentence short stories.
in all of the overwhelming sadness, that was the only grave I dug, and it was a small task.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I'm not kidding. This guy is so.
I mean, wow, he like
Good.
incredible. Like how I never
Yes.
heard of this guy
Right?
before.
I'm so glad that like I talked about this with Dana. The only reason I read it is I talked about this movie at work and brought it up with my boss Dana, and she's great. And we were chatting about it, and then she looked it up and she was like, "Oh my god, it's only 7 hours. I want to read this." And I was like, "Well, fuck it. If you're gonna read it, I'll read it too." And then she texted me like 3 times and was like, "Dude, this book though, like."
Fantastic. Like really, I think we did a disservice by not shitting on the guys who wrote this a little bit more
Yeah.
because they had
The
that
adaptation.
To work with. They had that to work with.
I kept coming away from it the same way, being like, "Oh no, so this movie sucks. Like you guys fucked this book right up.
Oh.
This should have been like Francis Ford Coppola's 28 Days Later with plants. Like that's what this should have been, and it's not."
Well, and I mean, just at the time, they just did not really take sci-fi seriously as
Yes, correct.
as like a medium
Yeah.
outside of print, and really not super there either.
So I have 2 last things. One is Coca. So Coca is a 30-something, late 20-something gentleman who is in Britain in the early 20th century and is a mulatto, mixed race, whatever is the correct way to say it. That is how he is described in the book several times. And he cannot. I think he talks about it a couple times, so I may be a little bit incorrect about the specifics, but basically he is essentially a bastard or just sort of he was in the foster care system, something like that. I kind of missed it, but I believe he was bouncing around is the relevant part. We first meet Coca where he is outside of the compound that the sighted individuals have created and barricaded and are stockpiling food in. And he is on a pile of rubble screaming over the gates that they should be ashamed of themselves for allowing all of these blind people to go starving when they who have sight and have the ability to gather and search and find the provisions needed for continuing life hide behind this barricade. And he's just giving this whole ass speech. He's got a crowd of blind people behind him. And then the next time we meet Coca, he comes in right after our main character's been captured by his people. And he basically gives his little speech monologue to our main character. And then he's like, "Here's how it's going to work. Every sighted person is going to be chained to 2 blind people. They're going to be responsible for keeping you safe. You're going to be responsible for keeping them safe. And here's the section that you have to go search." And they go off and it all goes terribly.
Shocking.
Et cetera, yeah.
Like, how long were the chains?
Well, pretty long.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's
Matthew was shown and her 2 zombie guys from
yes,
The
it's
Walking
very
Dead.
much shown. Which like I kept
That's
thinking
what
of
I
The
was
Walking
thinking.
Dead. I kept thinking of The Walking Dead through this too. Like I'm not one to really bring up The Walking Dead, but very much The Walking. Like Robert Kirkman got a lot from this
Makes
for
the
sure.
comparison.
Yeah.
But I was also imagining maybe there's like a really comically short chain.
Yeah.
So everybody's
Yeah.
got to shuffle to get it.
No, there may or may not be a horrifyingly intense sequence where one of them is dead and he can't move properly because the other one doesn't know where he's going and he's still chained to like a 300-pound, 200-pound corpse. Dude, this book is really good. Anyway, Coca, then everything basically goes to hell with Coca's group. And then Coca shows up as the survivor that he has to then survive with after Gisela has disappeared. And so he and Coca, he has to be like, dude, you chained me to other fucking blind people and you basically constricted all of us to die. And Coca's like, yeah, turned out that wasn't a great move, huh?
That one wasn't strong on my point. Yeah.
He's like, oh, yeah, you're right. I was wrong on that one. You know what? You're right on that one.
I'm big enough. I can admit it.
When you're right, you're right. And you know what, boss?
You're right.
You're right. Anyway, Coca is a fantastic character. It is truly insane that they cut him out of the movie and didn't
or like put him into something somewhere.
I can't imagine. It gets back to like the guy that directed the lighthouse sequences of the movie didn't watch the footage that the other guy shot. So I can't imagine he read the book. But if I had read the book and watched the footage that was shot, I would have been excited as hell to have all of these characters to pull from and all of these wonderful scenarios and ideas to pull from that he didn't utilize at all, that neither of them utilized.
And recreated something entirely different.
Yeah. There's two misses in this. Both directors, both of them failed to capitalize on that. I don't know if maybe the studio said no voiceover or whatever, but you could give the line, "We danced together to the echo of a lost memory," to the narration of the guy in the lighthouse
or
while
have
he's
it be
dancing with his wife,
or modify it slightly, come dance with me, and
give us a line of dialogue
over the ending sequence instead of the weird quote that came on screen or whatever.
And I won't go directly into how it ends, because that I do think it's worth reading. I think people should read it.
So this is why it got remade so many times.
Not
on the strength, not on the strength of nostalgia for the movie we watched, but on the strength of the book.
I would say a bit of both, because the movie does have a lot of nostalgia around it, and I am curious now about the remakes and how much they hold on to the movie. And
Dave's the Triffids podcast coming soon.
Honestly, guys, I'm looking at it. There are so many film and TV adaptations of his works as a whole.
Yeah.
Like a ton.
He's got a lot.
Including Village of the Damned and Children of the Damned are both based off novels of his.
No shit.
They're both based off of I just had it. The Midwich Cuckoos. A mini-series titled just The Midwich Cuckoos just came out a couple years ago too.
Oh yeah.
So they are still producing shit.
That's crazy. Okay.
And there's an Alfred Hitchcock story time based on one of his stories. There's it's crazy.
Well, I'm gonna have to do.
All right, I'm taking one last round of questions, and then this episode that's gone on way too long is going to close out. But I do want to close out with this monologue, sort of a monologue that he wrote that I mentioned earlier about essentially women's place in the patriarchy. And I just want everyone to remember that this is maybe not the most woke thing you're going to hear in 2025. It is, however, written in 1957 in a sci-fi movie about plants attacking a sci-fi book. Yeah. About plants attacking people. It's for its time. It is truly incredible. So yeah. Any last round of questions from anybody?
I don't think so. I've been doing some Googling, and I did, of course, hear Josiah's updates throughout the entirety of the 7 hours of him listening to this.
Right.
So, I do kind of want to read it myself, just for the joy.
Or at least catch the audio.
Transition to a book club. So, yeah. Kaylin.
None here.
Fine, leave.
What?
How does it end? How does the book end?
He's not going to tell us.
I can't tell you. I think you need to read it. But I will say it does not end the way that the movie does. At minimum, because they spend 4 years building a society together and having children, and by the end, he and Gisela have 2 kids. So I will spoil. He finds Gisela. What'd you say?
We just see him walk into the camp in the movie, and then it cuts.
Yeah.
Basically.
Incredible. Okay, well, I'm on board.
Genuinely, it reinforces more than anything my whole "this is World War Z" thing, because it's also horribly cut down from. And again, talked about before, I think both the movie and the book are strong for World War Z and Day of the Triffids, which again, another mark in them being the same.
For completely different reasons.
For different reasons. Yeah, for very different reasons. But they also both are cut down from being a multi-year spreading epic to being like a very pretty short and kind of focused thing. So all right, we ready to listen to this?
Yes.
Okay. Liz, I need a woman to take me into this. Tell me something feminist.
Home tonight.
Oh, that wasn't it.
And as she went on with her mending, she looked up at the bulbs occasionally as if to make certain they were still there. A few minutes later, Coca strolled in. "That was you, I suppose," I said, nodding at the lights. "Yes," he admitted. "They've got their own plant here. We might as well use it."
Quick context, they've just now arrived together at the compound made by the people who split off from the group who wanted to do the free love thing. And this is very specifically run by a very uptight conservative woman who is forcing the women to only do women tasks and does not have enough men to make the men tasks work. Again, quote unquote, men tasks work, because the men who were cited are basically didn't want to be part of this group. And so they have no men to do the quote unquote men tasks, and she won't let the women do them, essentially.
The petrols let it evaporate. "Do you mean to say we could have had lights all the time we've been here?" asked the girl. "If you'd just taken the trouble to start the engine," Coca said, looking at her. "If you wanted light, why didn't you try to start it?" "I didn't know it was there. Besides, I don't know anything about engines or electricity." Coca went on looking at her thoughtfully. "So you just went on sitting in the dark," he remarked. "And how long do you think you're likely to survive if you just go on sitting in the dark when things need doing?" She was stung by his tone. "It's not my fault if I'm not any good at things like that." "I'll differ there," Coca told her. "It's not only your fault, it's a self-created fault. Moreover, it's an affectation to consider yourself too spiritual to understand anything mechanical. It is a petty and very silly form of vanity. Everyone starts by knowing nothing about anything, but God gives him, and even her, brains to find out with. Failure to use them is not a virtue to be praised. Even in women, it is a gap to be deplored." She looked understandably annoyed. Coca himself had been looking annoyed from the time he came in. She said, "That's all very well, but different people's minds work on different lines. Men understand how machines and electricity work. Women just aren't much interested in that kind of thing as a rule." "Don't hand me a mess of myth and affectation. I'm not taking it," said Coca. "You know perfectly well that women can and do, or rather did, handle the most complicated and delicate machines when they took the trouble to understand them. What generally happens is that they're too lazy to take the trouble unless they have to. Why should they bother when the tradition of appealing helplessness can be rationalized as a womanly virtue, and the job just shoved off onto somebody else? Ordinarily, it's supposed that it's not worth anyone's while to debunk. In fact, it has been fostered. Men have played up to it by stoutly repairing the poor darling's vacuum cleaner and capably replacing the blown fuse. The whole charade has been acceptable to both parties. Tough practicality complements spiritual delicacy and charming dependence, and he is the mug who gets his hands dirty." He lunged on, well started now. "Hitherto we have been able to afford to amuse ourselves with that kind of mental laziness and parasitism. In spite of generations of talk about the equality of the sexes, there has been much too great a vested interest in dependence for women to dream of dropping it. They have made a minimum of necessary modifications to changing conditions, but they have always been minimum, and grudged at that." He paused. "You doubt that? Well, consider the fact that both the pert chit and the intellectual women worked the higher sensibility gag in their different ways. But when a war came and brought with it a social obligation and sanction, both could be trained into competent engineers." "They weren't good engineers," she remarked. "Everybody says that." "Ah, the defensive mechanism in action. Let me point out that it was in nearly everybody's interest to say so. All the same," he admitted. To some extent, that was true. And why? Because nearly all of them not only had to learn hurriedly and without proper groundwork, but they had also to unlearn the habits carefully fostered for years of thinking such interests alien to them and too gross for their delicate natures. I don't see why you have to come and pitch on me with all this, she said. I'm not the only one who didn't start the wretched engine. Coca grinned. You're quite right. It's unfair. It was simply finding the engine there ready to work and nobody doing a thing about it that started me off. Dumb futility gets me that way. For women, onto me. Just because of one dirty old engine, she said peevishly. Coca raised his eyes. Great God. And here have I been explaining that women have all the capacities if they only take the trouble to use them. You said we were parasites. That wasn't at all a nice thing to say. I'm not trying to say nice things. And what I did say...
That was it. I think closing out with, I'm not trying to say nice things, like feels very appropriate to the time right now, where it's this guy coming in and just spitting truth, and someone being like, "You're being mean." It was like, yeah, but you need to hear it.
I'm trying to tell you, you're fully capable of doing the thing.
Yeah, he's like, listen, I'm here being like, I'm the only man here, and you all are sending me with a whole task of stuff to do, which is exactly what's happening. And I'm sitting here saying, you are all capable of doing this. And yeah, anyway.
Liz, how did you feel about it?
Yeah, Liz asked be the token woman. All the men stare at her. Judgment.
We can look somewhere else. I'm looking over here.
I'll look over here. Hang on. I'll look
that
this way.
That wasn't my favorite moment in history.
You're good. Sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you for mansplaining how to unmute myself.
Yeah, but I'm gonna man edit it out. So boom.
Ooh.
You're fully capable of editing the episode if only.
Yep. I don't really have much of an opinion on that. I was annoyed, and yet it was factual. But also, I'm pretty sure that little girl was 8.
No, so this is not. Sorry, I should have prefaced. This is not the 8-year-old girl. No, this is fully.
Okay, I was like, she's 8.
No. This is fully an adult woman. She's not 8. This is one of the women that chose to stay with the super religious sect when they split off,
and she can see.
And she can see, and she's a full ass adult woman.
Oh yeah, then that's on her,
right? And that was explicitly.
This whole time, I thought he was talking to the 8-year-old, and I was like, "Well, this is very presumptuous of him."
Hang on, let me just play it
again.
again.
To give some hard truths to a child, I guess.
No,
sometimes they need too.
Hey, dummy! Sorry, you didn't turn on the engine.
Yeah,
I know you can't read.
No, it's
and I know you're not tall enough to reach the engine on one of these things.
Also, you probably don't know what petrol is, but no, this is fully like, this is a compound full of capable women, including the one who's in quote unquote in charge, who can see and has all these different skills, but refuses to do the things that are not her station in life. And we see the other end of it too, with men being aggressively dominating and asserting of gender roles, but a lot less in this. And I don't know if that's a failing or not in this book, but I think it's very noteworthy and interesting for the 50s that this is the way that there is light being shown on the culpability aspect of some women, Pam Bondi among others, in establishing and maintaining the patriarchy and the horrible individuals that are in control, because it works for them. And I think that refusing to talk about that is part of the issue that people have with the left in general. So I think it's really interesting that this book touches on it. I think it's worth pointing out. I think it's worth talking about. But yeah, she's not 8 is the important thing.
And way more topical of a story than.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is something I am impressed by, when you can find something from that long ago that still can make a good point today. And I don't know, I appreciate that.
I think it's phenomenal. I think it's very on point. And I think it's definitely a classic book that you should check out at your local library. I don't know.
You need to give it a rating.
Oh man, honestly, whatever the top, just top. Like, I'm not kidding. This is absolutely a book. Like, I played you guys an excerpt and I read you 3 quotes. The whole thing is like that. It is full of beautifully crafted prose. It is full of very poignant point of views on society, gender roles, male ego and fragility is absolutely a big part of it. I mean, it is 28 Days Later. It is World War Z. It is all these other post-apocalyptic end thrillers. I mean, thrillers, yes, but like the ones that are like The Road, that are intellectual and about what it means to be in, you know, The Walking Dead at the best of its time or whatever, right? Like to be like, humans are the problem. How do we handle humans? And there is other characters I didn't mention in order to kind of keep those storylines a mystery, but there's a ginger-haired man who is a very interesting character that we see several times, and he definitely portrays a different point of view of the apocalypse. And I mean, there's just moments of description that are so worth hearing that if you happen to be lucky enough to be listening to it at a moment where the sun hit the rocks near you, right? Like, you would just have a transcendent moment because his prose is beautiful. It is poetry. And apparently he's given us a lot of work that I'm going to have to dig into because he has left me horny for more of his wordplay.
Hot dog.
Horn dog.
Anything else, anybody?
I don't think so.
No.
Thank you for your book report.
Sorry, it took an hour. It was
No,
supposed to be
that's
15
fine.
minutes.
Oops.
I'm just glad you did it.
You know what, guys? My emotional colon feels real good because that was a big old book dump.
Man.
Hang on.
Oh no, I can smell. Oh no, it splattered. Oh.
All right, and I will light a candle to make sure that this book dump gets kind of whiffed out.
And we continue to avoid Apocalypse Now for just a little bit longer.
Oh my gosh. Oh, coming next, Apocalypse Now.
Oh dear.